Okay, so it has slowed down. So we'll go ahead and get started. So my name is Valerie Renz. I'm the director of the membership department, and I've been with Sweet Adelines for 5 years. So I would just like to welcome all of you to our very last session of this series, Planning a Successful Virtual Rehearsal for Guests. This has been really fun. Like Jen, I think it was Jen that was saying, this is one of the bright sides of using Zoom is that we get to see so many people. For us, it's matching faces with names, names with faces. It's just been a lot of fun. So it's just great to see everybody here and all of the love that you see in the chat. Mm-hmm. So down to well, let me actually back up a little bit. So this whole virtual global open house was created by the idea came from the Chorus Growth Incentive Task Force. We were actually working, I think it's been about 1.5 years now, on a recruitment competition. We had this amazing plan, great prizes. We were going to launch it in August, and then COVID happened. Then we pushed it to January 1st, and we realized that's probably not going to happen either. So about a month ago, we decided that we still needed to do something. So we came up with this global open house event that can be done virtually, and we'll capitalize on the virtual convention as well as the Coronet Club show, which is something that we can offer for free to all of our members that maybe have not had the opportunity to go, but as well as prospective members. So we have been in a very quick timeline, and we know you are too, but we just appreciate everybody diving in with us. So the logistics, in order to make our time as efficient as possible, all of the participants will be muted. We'll have some time at the end of the presentation to answer questions, but Jen and Bridget will also be monitoring the chat, and if there are any relevant questions to what they're speaking about at the time, they'll try to jump in and answer those as well. So if you can, please continue to utilize the chat feature, which is located on the right hand of your screen, usually depending on the device. And that's where we want you to send your questions. And just please be respectful and mindful of all of the participants in your questions. And we know you will. We haven't had any problems, and we thank you all for that. So before we really get started, I do want to introduce you to Laura and Keisha, who have been helping to moderate all of these sessions. If you've joined us before, they have probably become familiar faces, and most of you have probably at least corresponded with them. So we'll start with Laura Crockett. She is a membership specialist who works with our chapters, prospective chapters, and the membership retention committee. Laura?
Hi, I'm Laura Crockett. I've been with Sweet Adelines for over 2 years, and I'm very excited about our virtual global open house initiative.
Next, we have Keisha Ganson, who is also a membership specialist. She is the quartet registrar, works with chapters and revitalization, and she's actually also on the Chorus Growth Incentive Task Force. Keisha?
Hey everybody, so I'm Keisha, and I have been with Sweet Adelines pretty much exactly 2 years. I think I joined right after Labor Day, so, and I am just so excited for this last session, and then just see what all the amazing things that you guys come up with for your virtual global open house. So this is just a starting point, and I can't wait to see what happens.
And I'm gonna apologize because I can't mute myself right now, and I'm working from home, and my dog is barking because my husband just walked in, so sorry. So Laura and Keisha will be capturing all of your questions. If there are any questions that are not answered during the session, we will make them available along with the recording on our website. We have finalized where this location will be. It'll be under education, the education portal, and under virtual rehearsal resources. So that's where they'll be. They are not there yet, but we will get them there. So let's go ahead, and I will introduce you to our presenters, Bridget and Jen Cook, which I'm sure you know very well by now. Bridget is the regional membership coordinator for Region 11, where she sings baritone with the current regional champions, Santa Monica Chorus, and regional medalist, Dixon Quartet. She also serves on the Diversity and Inclusivity Task Force. Jen Cook is a master director. She's the director of Scenic City Chorus, the membership coordinator for Region 14. She's the Region faculty in Regions 14 and 4, and former IBOD member and International Board of Directors member, and a member of the Chorus Growth Incentive Task Force. So let's go ahead and turn it over to them.
Great. We are so excited to be with you all today and to talk about how you can plan your virtual open house times. And we're just going to really kind of jump into it. We're going to cover planning, first impressions, voice placement, riser buddies, and follow-up. And the way Bridget and I constructed this class is that we're going to talk about how we do this in real life, face-to-face, and then how we can take these things that we do face-to-face and do them virtually. And as Valerie said, we'll be monitoring the chat. If you have questions, please ask. And we're just going to learn together today. You ready to go, Bridget?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
So I'm going to start out with the planning. So planning for a virtual guest night can simultaneously be simpler and more time consuming than planning for an in-person event. And I'm sure all of you directors out there are nodding your heads vigorously, because we are finding as directors that planning for Zoom rehearsals is actually quite a bit more time consuming and more vigorous than even having in-person rehearsals. So to prepare, make sure you have a team that can communicate well, especially digitally, is tech savvy, and also know a team that knows the ins and outs of the chorus audition process, because you all know that on those guest nights, we get those guests that come in and they're like, okay, well, how can I audition? I want to be a part of this group. So you'll want someone who really knows, okay, this is our process, this is what you need to do next, all of that good stuff. You need to plan a rehearsal that demonstrates what a normal rehearsal night is like, along with some fun activities that will introduce potential members to the art of barbershop and to your chorus. If they've never heard your chorus before, especially virtually, they don't get to be on the risers with you. So finding some ways to share what your chorus does with these potential members is a great way to get them introduced to your chorus and introduced to barbershop. As we think about these global open houses, we're really thinking globally, because one of the interesting things right now about these open houses is that we may get someone from miles, countries away from us who are coming for a virtual guest night. So they may be part of your chorus for a while, but we're also teaching them a love of barbershop and a way for them to find barbershop wherever they are as well. They may be your virtual member for a while, and then they may find a chorus that's closer to them when we are able to get back face-to-face. So we're really thinking globally right now as far as these open houses are concerned. And of course, I know that many of you have already gone to our wonderful publicity classes, and it should be widespread. Utilize social media, have buy-in from all the members, and then after publicizing and planning for it, you're going to get ready for just a fun evening of connection and excitement. And I'm so excited because I just came off of a virtual open house. Last night, I had a joint open house with Alamo Metro Chorus. We had 95 people come to this rehearsal, which we were not expecting. But you may want to think about that as well as we go through this process talking about an open house. If you feel like, okay, this might be a little overwhelming for my chorus right now, or, you know, we haven't had the attendance we've liked, and maybe we can't have everyone do the jobs that we need to be done. You might want to talk to another chorus about having a joint open house where you can share the load, where you can both publicize what's going on, and you can create some excitement with that. So definitely think about that as we go through the processes today.
Well,
So,
and as your experience just demonstrated, you're not geographically limited by
exactly. Exactly. My chorus is in Chattanooga. We were with Alamo Metro Chorus in Texas, and we had an amazing time, truly. It was wonderful. So here's a sample, and what I'm sharing with you, of course, is a sample guest night schedule from my own chorus. So yours may look different, it may look the same, it may deviate in some places. One of the things to remember, especially on Zoom, I think, is that the chunks of time that you spend on certain activities need to be smaller than they might be in a regular rehearsal. Zoom fatigue is very real. And if you can keep things going in a smaller chunks, then that really does help make things move. It helps the guests to see exactly what you're doing. And I see a question right here. What is your whiteboard check-in? So whiteboard is this little thing on Zoom. It's when you share your screen, you can share a whiteboard. And basically it's just a whiteboard that everyone can draw on. You can access stamps, you can write text, and it's just a silly little thing that we do that for some reason my chorus loves. It's really fun, and it's just kind of this check-in thing we do to get everyone kind of focused in for the rehearsal. So if you've not tried whiteboard on Zoom, definitely try it because it is a blast for sure. Yeah, it's really fun. Right at the beginning, you can see that we introduce the guests, and usually if they are brand new guests, we have them tell a little bit about themselves, how they found us. So that actually might take longer than 10 minutes, depending on how many guests that you are that are coming to your rehearsal. And with the planning and with your membership team being really on it, hopefully you'll know or have a general idea of how many guests you are going to have. We always love to do physical warm-ups, especially now, I think, when many people are staying home. It's good to just move around, get those endorphins going. And then on guest nights, like I said, it's a great idea to share what your chorus does. Share a chorus performance. It doesn't have to be a contest performance. It can be any performance of which you have a video and you're proud to share. So if you have a virtual chorus video, if you have something from a community performance, if you have your contest video, whatever you would like to share, so your guests can see what you do. Of course, we do vocal warm-ups, and we always embed vocal skills in those vocal warm-ups because we are an educational organization, and we want our guests to know that they're going to be getting a vocal education when they come to rehearsals. And then I always like to teach a tag. For me, teaching a tag is the easiest way for people to start to learn how to hear barbershop. And there are tag videos out there that you can use online. And a lot of them have part missing or just all 4 parts together where your guests can sing along with those tags. And then we sing. We absolutely sing during rehearsal. And of course, we're singing along to learning tracks or rehearsal recordings with everyone on mute. But it's also important for the guests to get to hear your repertoire, to get to start to sing some of that, and to really just work with the music. And later on, we're going to share about sharing music within a rehearsal. And I know Valerie has some stuff to share about that as well. And then usually we try to do something fun. You can see on this schedule we have a Kahoot, which is an online quiz game. And we do Scenic City trivia with that. So our members can learn a little more about us, and we can see what our actual members know as well. So having something fun and interactive online, like a quiz game or something like that, can really work well. You can also see that we have a part of the rehearsal where guests are in breakout rooms and they get to meet with the membership team. They get to talk to the membership team about what it means to be a member of Scenic City, what the membership options are, what we do during every rehearsal, stuff like that. And then at the end, we thank the guests. We sing happy birthday to whoever has birthdays that week. And we do unmuted happy birthday just because it is fun. So it really, really is enjoyable. Diane is asked, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Diane has a question about how the breakout rooms work.
Thank you, Bridget. So you can set up breakout rooms in several ways. In Zoom, you can set up one breakout room and assign specific members to that breakout room. So usually we ask our guests to rename themselves and put guest in front of their name. That way we know they're there, we see that they're guests, and when we put them in a breakout room with the membership team, it's easier to find them and to put them in there. And while the breakout room is going on, we may be doing a business meeting, we may be doing our education time, having a chorus discussion. But while that's going on, the guests are meeting with the membership team in a separate room so that they can ask any questions that they want about the chorus or anything else. Great question. And I'm going to turn this over to the mighty awesome Bridget.
Thank you so much. Okay, so one of the most important things in any guest experience is a first impression. And so as Jen alluded to earlier, we're going to talk about how we do this in person historically and how that translates into the virtual world. So when a new member walks through the door or a guest walks through the door at a rehearsal in person, they should be experiencing a cheerful greeting, of course, and we're all fond of that. We all, as a matter of course, are very warm and welcoming. You should have a designated membership person do the greeting, and then the rest of the members should feel free to also greet that person without piling on and overwhelming them, because we can also be very enthusiastic as Sweet Adelines. Next, the guest should have a face-to-face conversation with the director, so they understand who the director is, have some connection with that person, and then that can be in connection with voice placement if your director is doing that, or just a quick chat if another team member is doing your voice placement, as it is in my chorus, for instance. Just a quick voice placement, and we've all been through it, having been to a first rehearsal or a first visit to a Sweet Adeline chorus. It doesn't have to be extensive. And then just that person who's voice placing them makes a recommendation for what part they might want to sing in that rehearsal. The next thing they should have is a very knowledgeable, positive riser buddy, someone to be paired with for the evening who can kind of show them the ropes and guide them through their riser singing experience. And finally, they should have time to ask questions, give feedback, and even learn more about how to become a member. Jen was talking about that experience when she referred to the breakout rooms at the end of her chorus guest nights. Oh, and one more thing.
One more.
Follow-up. That's very important too. You want to, once somebody comes and visits with you, you want to follow up with them and both maintain a connection with them, encourage them to come again, and or answer any questions they have, address any issues they had, and thank them for taking time out of their day to come and sing with you. So that's what we do in person. We can do all of these things virtually, and here's how they show up in the virtual world. On Zoom, the new guest should be greeted by name and welcomed. The membership team lead and director should be spotlighted for recognition. So whoever is greeting people as they come in, whatever member of your membership team or your Zoom squad is responsible for that, should be pointing out who the membership team lead and the director are so that the guests can put a face with the name and they know who they need to be consulting with if they have any issues. Next, there can be a face-to-face conversation with the director through a breakout room. So you'll notice that breakout rooms are used in a few places during these guest visits. So it's really good to have facility with breakout rooms and have your Zoom host, whether that's a single person who always handles that for you or a team of people who always handle that for you. These people should be very facile with using breakout rooms. So you can have the guest go have a quick conversation with the director in a breakout room just as they might have if they had walked in your rehearsal room door. Voice placement can also happen during that time, should also happen during that time, so that person knows what voice or what part, yes, we sing parts, what voice part they should be following and singing when you do the singing portion of the evening. Next, the guest can connect with a Riser Buddy in private chat. So you don't have to do yet another breakout room. If you know how to use the chat function, it's possible to chat individually in the chat window. You can select who you're going to chat with. And our recommendation is that the person that they're paired with and they be introduced, and then they be encouraged to chat with one another privately during the rehearsal.
Yeah. And I want to let you all know that we are seeing some of your questions via the chat, and those questions will be answered as we go through the presentation. So that's why we're not addressing some of them now, but if your questions don't get answered during the presentation, please put it back in the chat and we will get that for sure.
With the private chat between the guest and the Riser Buddy, those of us who may be a Riser Buddy during the guest night can use that as an opportunity just to check in with the guest. So maybe you're watching their window during the Zoom and they look confused, or it doesn't seem like they know what they're doing or they're following. You can just quick check in with them and see if there's any way that you can help them. Next, during education or business portion of the evening for the chorus, you can create the breakout room for the guests and the member team. And how that shows up in my chorus is during our business portion of the evening at the end of the rehearsal, guests leave and go to in a separate room with the membership team and talk about what does it mean to be in Sweet Adelines and in this chorus and what does that look like. And so we can do that in breakout rooms too. During the chorus business meeting, those people go in a breakout room. And as Jen suggested before, it's really great to have the guest's Zoom window named guest and then their name. So it's really easy for the Zoom host to find those people and put them into breakout rooms accordingly.
Yes. Oh.
The director. I don't know why
that's popping at the bottom, sorry.
That's all right, I can still read it.
Okay, good.
The director can personally acknowledge the guests by name at the end of the rehearsal. It's really wonderful for everyone to just have a chance to acknowledge the people who've taken their time to come and join us and welcome them and have them feel seen and welcomed by the group.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay, so the greeting. Does everyone in the chorus know where to direct a new member? Designated greeters should always be present and known. Greeters should welcome the potential new member, ask their name, and find out how they learned about the chorus. That's really great information for your marketing team and your membership team to know. How are we being effective in getting people to join us? Because we all want that. There should be a sign-in sheet for all visitors that includes contact information, so that you can always go back to the place more than information, reach out to those people for the follow-up, and also perhaps in the future, if you have events or other things that you think they might be interested in participating in to support the chorus, you've got their information to contact them. The greeter then introduces the potential new member to the director and the person who will be voice placing, if applicable. And the greeter waits until voice placement is over and then assists the visitor by learning who the Riser Buddy is. That's important. Procuring a guest book and escorting that person to the risers. This is the live. Okay, so how do we do this virtually? If a member notices a new guest, they should chat privately with the director and membership team lead to make sure that they know that there's a guest in the Zoom.
Sometimes we don't know.
Yeah, it's true. Sometimes if there are more people in the Zoom than can appear on one screen, it's really hard to know who's all there, unless you happen to be the person in charge of tracking that. And hopefully your director is not the person in charge of tracking that because they're busy doing something else, actually 5 or 6 other things. So yeah, when you notice a guest, make sure people know. And then if there is a designated greeter, they can use the chat to welcome that person and then ask any questions. A sign-in sheet can be created with Google Forms, sharing the link in the chat for new guests. That's a really great way to handle that.
My chorus does that, and it works so well. We have a wonderful spreadsheet of guests by just putting that Google link in the chat.
And then the Google form, then the back end of that form can be used to populate your own spreadsheet that you can just keep in perpetuity. That's a fantastic system. For new guests, voice placement can be done in a separate breakout room during warm-ups or during social time, as we said earlier. And that doesn't have to take a very long time. It's real quick, just like in person.
And I will say, sometimes if you have a lot of guests and you know you're not going to be able to fit the voice placement within rehearsal time, you can always use the time when they're meeting with the membership team for them to say, hey, the director really would love to do a voice placement with you. Rehearsal time is going to be a little limited. So is there a time outside of rehearsal they can meet with you on Zoom and do a voice placement? So it doesn't always have to happen in rehearsal. It just depends on how many guests you have. And also keep in mind, if you have your music team voice placing, you can have simultaneous breakout rooms happening at once. So you could have conceivably 5 voice placements happening at the same time. Just have to make sure everyone's really knowledgeable who are doing the voice placement. Sorry, keep on going, Bridget.
There should be a built-in time during rehearsals for the membership team or greeter to introduce the guests, and we talked about that earlier as well. It's really important for people to be seen and acknowledged by the group and to feel welcomed by the entire group to help create that connection with the group, especially when there can't be physical connection with the group.
Mm-hmm. Oops, sorry, there it goes.
And finally, this actually answers a question that's in the chat right now. Sheet music can be shared by screen share or another designated method. So Jen, do you want to speak to that?
Yes, I'm sorry. I just had some new ideas even from our open house last night. So what I observed last night during guest night is you can actually share a Google Drive link in your chat. And Valerie, you're going to have to speak to this if I speak outside of copyright. And you can set that Google folder to read only, so the music cannot be printed off. But when they click on that link, they have access to all of the music that you are working on for the evening, so they can still see it on their screen. They can still, follow along, but they can't print out copies because you set it to read only. And that may be another, because screen sharing music is wonderful, but it's also hard to maintain throughout the entire evening, especially when your director forgets to keep scrolling when the people are singing. Like, I've never done that. So that might be an alternative. And Valerie, is that?
That is an option. And also from our music services department, what we hear is that a sheet of music can actually be emailed. What you need beforehand is assurance from the recipient that they will destroy, basically delete that they won't print it or save that. So basically, once you get that assurance and you send that, you have passed that responsibility and burden onto that recipient or guest member. So there's a few different options there.
Wonderful. You may even have like a little form or survey that someone can fill out and say, I'll destroy this afterwards, or some way of acknowledging that. Thank you, Valerie.
And can I chime in and say one thing too? We were talking about this, using Zoom and the different breakouts. I just want to remind everyone that in our education section of the website, if you go down to education portal, there is a link for virtual rehearsal resources. And in there are tutorials for Zoom for both the host and participants. So that's available as well.
Great.
Zoom itself also has a lot of video tutorials available from their website. So I highly recommend exploring in Zoom, because you may discover functionality you didn't know existed that could be really, really useful. My chorus tends to use Zoom polls all the time for our fun social activities.
I love polls.
Yeah, they're really fun. And we also used it for the our most recent election. So
fabulous.
Yeah, Zoom has a lot of functionality that can be really, really great for virtual rehearsals.
Yes, absolutely. Polls, breakout rooms, screen shares, whiteboard, all of those wonderful things.
Mm-hmm.
And you can share just your sound, not your entire screen, which I have found super helpful as a director
Yes.
to see my singers. Awesome. So let's talk about online voice placement. And but first, before I get into this, there's a great question in the chat, and I think it's a good time in between slides to address this. It says, my chorus is concerned about taking on potential new members during this time. How can you maintain people new to the genre after the open house when we are struggling to retain the members we have, right? We are spending a lot of energy trying to keep the interest of existing members. And I would say definitely you are not alone. It is a struggle with people, you know, not feeling that experience of actually being on the risers with fellow singers and struggling with technology and all of that. And I can only speak to my own experience, but I can tell you, having new members come in or having guests come in has actually kind of sparked excitement with my existing members because they're seeing new faces. They're able to introduce people to the genre that they love, to barbershop. And some of them have become riser buddies, and that's kind of really like reconnected them to the chorus. So I would say for the most part, having new people come in actually has given my chorus even more of a sense of purpose, I think. And I think that can really create that excitement about having new people join in.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
So Jen's answer is wonderful. And I would just say, in addition to that, new people coming in at this time aren't necessarily looking for the same thing that new people walking in the door of an in-person rehearsal are looking for.
Yep.
They are not expecting riser camaraderie because we're not in a room together, and they know that coming in. Right now, people are looking for connection. They're looking for things to break up the monotony. They may be looking to develop a new interest or a new hobby. And if they enjoy the experience that they have online with your chorus, they're going to stay.
Yep.
And you are providing something greatly of service to them. It's just different from what you normally provide when we're able to sing together in person.
Yes.
I also want to jump in and say that the task force, once we complete this series, next week we'll begin meeting again to discuss another series of educational events for what happens next. So now that you've gotten somebody in the virtual door, what happens after that? And so that will be something that will be addressed as well.
Yes, absolutely.
I see a question in the chat about
Yeah.
what success have we experienced sharing Zoom etiquette tips with chorus members? Actually,
mute all.
100%. The Zoom host should be muting everybody pretty much all the time. But we've had pretty good success in my chorus and in the groups that I'm participating in on Zoom. Just giving gentle reminders to people. You kind of set some ground rules about how we're going to be together on Zoom in order to reduce the amount of potential chaos. And when someone forgets, then you just give them a gentle reminder. Our Zoom host generally takes care of that.
Great question. Very great question. And Sarah has a question about, and I know we need to get through our slides, but these questions are great, and I think we need to meet the needs of our people here. Yeah. So financial commitments, postponing dues for new members until we meet in person again. I think that kind of goes back to, at least within my chorus, we're very clear that this is a virtual membership. So they come in knowing what the experience is going to be and what they're paying, basically. So as these members come in, some of them may just stay with us virtually because, you know, we're getting people from far away. Some may continue with the chorus. But I also think there's value in the fact that even though we're meeting online, we are still educating. We're still singing. We're still learning. We're still growing. And all of that really does have financial value. It really does. So if you can think about what you're offering these members and what they're getting from the rehearsals, I think that helps, you know, bring forth the value that comes with paying dues to the chorus. Okay, so I'm gonna keep moving because these questions are great. We will answer them, but I want to make sure we get through some of this. Okay, I love it. Okay, so voice placement in real life is conducted by a music team or the director, usually a simple voice exercise or well-known song. I like to talk to the people coming in because I want to know what their vocal background is. I just want to kind of get a sense of who they are and that connection. I try to explain the barbershop art form, especially to people who are used to conventional music reading. Like I try to explain to them how reading barbershop is different. As soon as they see the bass clef, they're like, for the most part. So we talk about that. Giving positive and realistic feedback on the voice placement. So, you know, you're doing these things really well. Just so you know, like in barbershop, we don't really do vibrato. So you may want to think about that, those kind of things to just kind of set up. And results in a suggested voice part along with a riser buddy assignment. So virtually, this can be a breakout room with a music team member or director, like we talked about, depending on the time in the rehearsal. If the director's doing it, you'll need a strong a strong leadership team or directing team or whatever to lead the rehearsal while the director is doing the voice placement. And that happens in real life for me as well. Screen share during that time. If you have some things you want to share with a potential member, you can use screen share to say, hey, here's what the barbershop cone looks like. Or if you have that short explanation you want to share with them. So it's great that you have those visual aids at your disposal. When returning to rehearsal, you can, the director or the music team member can use private chat to contact the membership team member and say, hey, this person just did voice placement. I'm going to put this singer on lead, and can you make sure that they get connected with a riser buddy? And then the membership team takes care of that for me so I can keep on with rehearsal. And alternately, a breakout room can be used to introduce a guest to their riser buddy. It's totally up to you. Some people, and actually it may depend on the incoming guests. Some may feel a little more shy and might need to really meet that person face to face, or they may not know how to use private chat and need that explanation. Or if they're a little more confident, you can just say, hey, you can private chat this person if you have any questions, and they're going to check on you during rehearsal. There should be an established procedure for providing, sharing sheet music, and we just talked about that and the ways that you can do that with your guests. And thanks for that insight too, Valerie. Appreciate that. I'm going to move on to riser buddies. How are we doing? I know we have some pertinent questions, Bridget. Anything with what I was talking about with voice placement?
No.
Okay, so we can grab those at the end. Is that right?
Yeah.
Awesome. So as you pick your riser buddy for your incoming guest, your potential member, obviously you should have a set of riser buddies for each voice part. So you don't have to even think, you're just like, okay, I've got these people ready to go. They should be relatively strong, accurate singers with musical barbershop knowledge. And of course, I think of that in real life because I usually put the person right next to their riser buddy. And I want someone who is, you know, relatively good, knows their part, so that when they're singing in that person's ear, that person is getting, you know, the correct notes and all of that. They should be knowledgeable about the schedule for a new member for each rehearsal. They should know, okay, new member, we're doing our education, so you're going to go with the membership team right now. They should be able to direct that person. Energetic and positive, but not overwhelming. We have so many wonderful, enthusiastic, fabulous members in our organization, and we just want to make sure, you know, that they're not overwhelming anyone, and that they're able to contact the director with any problems or questions. They're basically the guest voice during rehearsal time. If the director says something, they can say, oh, Jen, what do you mean by down the tiles? Or what do you mean by ringing a chord? And they can help kind of interpret for the guest, because we use so many terms we don't even think about. Mm-hmm. And then virtually, like we said before, they can meet with the guests either through private chat or breakout room prior to the guest joining rehearsal. So the guest knows that they have someone they can call on if they need. The riser buddy should check in via chat with their guest. So don't assume the guest is going to ask questions. The riser buddy needs to be proactive and just checking in, saying, how you doing? Any questions? You doing okay? And the director should be more aware of guests as well, since the riser buddies can't guide their singing. So sometimes during guest nights, I may play more part alone tracks. I may do more part dominant tracks. I may explain terms more. I may share music more and kind of look at the things that we're talking about as we're exploring the music in barbershop. So just being aware of that is super helpful. And the directors should also be in contact with buddies on private chat when necessary. So if I see someone's really struggling, I may private chat the buddy and say, hey, is so-and-so doing okay? You might want to check on them. And I try to do that as much as I can while, running rehearsal. Oh, I love that. And that's Bridget.
All right.
Back to Bridget.
So on to follow-up. So you've had your successful guest night, and you got a plan for them to come back. You want to give them all the materials that they need to return the following week, which includes how to find your website, any audition-related materials. So if they want to start the audition process, the stuff they need for that. Contact information for the head of your membership team and for the director. And follow-up email or a phone call from someone on the membership team saying how was it, and encouraging them to come back, answering questions, etc. And providing them with first or second visit packets as applicable. If the chorus goes out after rehearsal, lots of choruses afterglow after every rehearsal, invite them to come along. Invite your guests. It's a great way to start bringing them into the fold. So how do we do this virtually? We make sure that all guest materials are available in digital format, and we've talked about how to do that. And those can then be emailed to the guests, and we have their email addresses because we got them prior to the guest night. On the sign-in sheet, you can use that to determine the best mode of communication. How do they want to be contacted? And then make sure that you use what they've designated as the way to contact them. Make sure that the digital audition process is well thought out and clearly communicated to each guest. So here's a piece where your leadership team is going to need to do some planning. How are we going to do a digital audition process if we're going to? And I know that there are many choruses who are successfully using their digital audition processes.
We just finished one. I'm so excited. Okay.
Yeah. Very, very cool. It can be done. I promise you that it can be done. And then invite the guests to any online social events that may be scheduled outside of regular rehearsal time. So if your chorus is doing a trivia night, or my chorus actually had a virtual treasure hunt night, which was crazy. It was so much fun. You can invite your guests to participate in that as well.
And then just some things to think about, like what is your current protocol and how can you adapt that to create a positive virtual experience for the potential new member? What issues and advantages are unique to your chorus and how can you use those to make the new member experience memorable? And then thinking about next steps. And next steps doesn't necessarily mean, okay, we're going to have like 15 guests at our next rehearsal and we're going to get them all in, or you find manageable next steps. Like our goal is to do a virtual open house and see how many guests we get from that. And then maybe do a guest night in a couple weeks. And our goal is to have like 5 guests, but pick things that are very manageable, that kind of stair step on each other and build on each other to work out having a really successful, not only just an open house, which is awesome. And I encourage all of us to very much do that, but to also think about how can I have guests almost every rehearsal and how can we make those experiences really wonderful and get them connected to our chorus. I see so many questions and I know how we are on time. Do we have time to answer things?
Yeah, we can answer a few questions, so that's fine. Do you guys want to start with the questions that will live in your area?
Sure, that would be great.
So I have, how many rehearsals would you allow a guest to attend without auditioning and joining?
Oh, my chorus is just now having this conversation because right now we have a wonderful guest and she really just wants to come to our rehearsals right now. And I guess, I mean, and someone can present. I'm like, okay, if you want to come and sing, because we're also doing virtual chorus performances, and you have to be a member to be a part of that. So we're kind of balancing. We want you to have an experience and be a part of the rehearsal and all that, but we also want to put you on a track for what's your end goal and all of that. So for some members, it's a couple rehearsals and they're ready to go. Some people need to get to know the chorus more, and so we may have, 5 or 6 rehearsals before they really feel like they can start to join in. I don't know, Bridget, what do you think?
Well, I think that is up to each individual chorus.
Yep.
It really is, and I'm sorry to answer the question with
It's so
a
true.
non-answer, but it really is about, check in amongst yourselves and decide, how long are we comfortable having someone be in our virtual rehearsals without paying dues, without
Yeah, that's the
becoming,
thing.
a member and bearing some of the financial burden that the rest of us are bearing. And it may be that your chorus decides we're just going to let people, during this time, we're just going to let people be with us virtually and not worry about it. Or maybe it's we just want them to pay whatever license fee we need to cover their copy of our sheet music and leave it at that. And we'll just wait until we go back in person. And other courses may create a virtual membership. And there you go. And have a lower dues amount or different dues amount, or maybe it's the same amount of dues. It really is up to each individual chorus and what feels good to you.
And I'd also like to chime in on that because we've had some people that have actually called to ask us this question as well. And I think what we find is that there are people who are afraid to commit right now for whatever reason. And it's probably a good thing to let them get used to coming, let them really grow to love you, know what your course is about, because they will miss it. And so if they're not ready to sign on the dotted line now, for whatever reason that is, once they get back to normal life, maybe they have a little bit more confidence in their health or in their finances, they're going to miss you and they're going to want to come back. Next question. How do you audition guests virtually? How can you see if they can hold their part against other harmony parts?
I'll be happy to tell you how we do it. And then I'm sure Bridget has something in her head too. I can see from that nod. I know that nod. So what we do is we have a recording of our music team singing our competition up tune with our interp. And we have all 4 parts there. During rehearsal, they can record themselves singing against that at home, and we call that our initial consultation. They send that into their section leader, and the section leader listens to it and talks to them and determines if they're ready to actually audition. And so they're singing against a recording, and a lot of times we use part missing learning tracks as well. Not the same as singing with a chorus, I know, but it's a pretty good facsimile. Is that what I'm trying to say?
Facsimile.
Facsimile, thank you. I knew I was very close on that one.
So close.
And then when we determine they're ready, the music team Zooms with that person. That person plays the recording of the learning tracks or the rehearsal recording and sings along with it, just like they would sing along with a quartet when we do our audition. And then we listen to them on Zoom and we have them hang up, we discuss, and then I call that person and tell them whether or not they've passed. And so far, we've only done one, but it was very successful. The person felt very supported all the way through the process and had a very successful audition.
That is excellent. So what I was going to suggest is the second half of what Jen just explained, which is having someone sing against a recording of the audition song with their part missing. so they're not relying on the sound of someone else singing their part, which is, the way that we audition people in my chorus is to have them sing with a quartet. So it's the virtual equivalent of singing with a quartet, and it's not going to be quite the same. Sync isn't going to be the same, and there may be some technological glitches, but you can get a really good sense of whether the person can hold their part and whether they can learn the music within the time frame that you need them to learn the music.
Yeah.
So for the sake of time, I think what we'll do is we'll answer one more question, and then I do see questions regarding dues, so then I will address that. The last question, I think for you, and if you do have questions following this, I will give you some email. You'll see some email addresses you can send those to. So the last question: do you also do a visual audition?
I think different courses do different things with that. We don't, just because we feel like the person's nervous enough trying to sing in front of us, if that makes sense. And we coach a lot of the visual. But I don't know, Bridget, have you ever experienced a visual audition?
Yes, my chorus does do a visual audition.
Oh, great.
We want to make sure that people at least have the ability to learn very simple choreography and to perform, not just execute choreography.
Right.
So the visual audition has two parts. One is, and it's just to singing Happy Birthday. So we use a song that the person already knows. They get to sing the melody, not worry about holding a part. And they learn the moves actually from a YouTube video that our choreographer, our in-house choreographer Marley, made. Very simple moves to Happy Birthday. So they do that. And then the second part of the visual audition, they sing Happy Birthday again, but they sing it with character, with a particular character that the head of our visual team suggests to them. So there's a backstory suggested, and say, okay, sing Happy Birthday like this just happened, and this is your context. How does that sound? And we watch, the music team watches the auditions, and we watch to see how expressive they are and how they are being expressive when they sing a song they already know. And it works really well. It's also really fun. It tends to be probably the most enjoyable part of every audition for the auditionee. They tend to have a really good time doing that.
I love that.
So I've seen a lot of questions asking about dues, about virtual memberships. So first I'm going to start with the virtual memberships because I feel like that's a little bit of an easier answer. So there are a lot of choruses that have created a virtual membership within their chorus. It is already happening, and as far as the cost, I would recommend talking to other choruses, your regions, maybe check on Sweet Adeline's chat. I am not advocating for a virtual membership that does not include Sweet Adeline's International, but it is happening. So regarding the dues, and it is a difficult question, it's a difficult answer, and so I'm just going to be honest with kind of what we're doing. This whole thing, while the information isn't changing as rapidly now as it was when we started, it still is changing. I mean, we're having to take everything really day by day. We waited until the last minute to cancel the international competition because we wanted to make sure that we weren't held on the line for the contract, for breaking those contracts. And it was a really large amount of money that we would have had to pay. So there's a lot of big decisions being made. We have, unfortunately, cut staff at International to help kind of get in a budget, and we are having all of the events that we have that bring in revenue for the organization are not able to happen. And we don't want to charge for events. We don't want to charge for education because that's something we take pride in, and we still want everybody to receive value for their membership. That being said, there is nothing that we don't talk about. I mean, on a weekly, daily basis. I'm in bed thinking about it. I send emails to myself or texting each other at night. So I can't say that there have been any decisions made at this time regarding new members that have joined us, especially during this campaign. but it's again, we're discussing everything constantly. The finance committee is looking, it's not just what are we doing today, what are we doing in a year, but it's in 5 years. How can, people's, family and friends continue to sing in 10, 20, 30, we're our 75th anniversary, and we're looking at another 75 years, and not just to get through COVID, because we will get through COVID. We have an amazing group of members, singers, and the way everybody has come together, I know that we'll get through this, and it's just not easy decisions, and it's something that really, it is always on our minds. So I know, like Bridget said, it's kind of a non-answer, but I just want you to know we are always thinking about it and really trying to make the best decision for the entire organization. And if you ever want more information, feel free to email me. A lot of people do already. But just know that there is a lot going on at International. I know we're not seeing it in the same ways where there's events that are going on, but there's still a lot going on. We're still working to make things happen. So again, if you want more information, there's really not much else that I can give you, but we are working, we are talking about it, and we will do the best we can for all of you. And you're always on our minds, as well as the International Board. They are meeting all the time. So that's kind of the best that I can do right now. So I did want to address it. I don't want it to be the elephant in the room, but it's just kind of where we're at, and we're taking it day by day. So I think we'll go ahead and wrap this up. So I would just once again like to thank our International Board of Directors, CEO Tammy Talbot, for jumping in with us to make this happen. I do want to say thank you to Laura Crockett. She is actually not on the task force, but she has jumped in at the last minute and has been moderating all the sessions. The girl can type and text questions faster than anybody I've ever seen. So she's probably like a 13-year-old teen girl that doesn't get off her phone trapped in a successful adult body. I don't know what's going on there, but she's great. And then finally, I do want to thank all of the members of the task force who've been our presenters throughout the week and just spread the enthusiasm and excitement for this campaign. Fran Fertner, the chair, so without her, we would probably not have really been able to get this done so quickly. Bridget Barrett, Jen Cook, Deb Ferens, Helly Hemgord, and Keisha Ganson. I think I've got everybody covered. Just everybody, thank you so much. And this will conclude this round of education events, and we will have more to come on what happens next, like I mentioned. So we're now going to pass the virtual torch to you, and hope that you know that you will make this virtual global open house a wildly successful event, and even more importantly, share all that your chorus has to offer with those that need it, and maybe they don't even know they need you yet. And your reach, like they were saying, and the people you impact can be in your city, your state, your province, or across the world. There are really no limits to your virtual community. So we look forward to seeing your creativity, sharing in the excitement of your events. And with that, I hope you have a wonderful day or evening wherever you're at. And just thank you so much for everything and for participating. And we'll see you all next month.
You all have been wonderful.
Thanks,
Thank you. Thanks for your awesome questions, everything else.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Bridget. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you, Valerie.
Bye.
Bye-bye.